DeBrosse, the gun lawyer.
Hey y'all, gun lawyer here. Last thing I wanted to talk about with regards to concealed handgun licensing in a motor vehicle is what happens if you're stopped by law enforcement. For the everyday citizen, most of us are going to be stopped in a motor vehicle for traffic offenses. So there's a few requirements in Ohio. If you have a concealed handgun license, one, you must promptly notify the law enforcement officer that you are currently armed. There's some confusion about this in the law enforcement community. Many think that you have to notify armed or not. That's not true. You only have to notify if you're armed. Now, as an instructor, I would recommend you always notify just to get in the habit of it. I do believe as an attorney that this is potentially unconstitutional. Anytime the law requires you to state something, could be an incrimination against yourself. You could be self-incriminating yourself, making a statement against your own interest. Nevertheless, it's the law, notify. Law also does not define promptly. There's been a lot of litigation over how long. There's been cases in certain cities where people have notified a minute and a half to 2 minutes into the stop and they've been prosecuted for it. So first thing in your mouth should be, officer, I'm currently armed and I have a concealed handgun license. Now with that said, you have a few other obligations as a licensee. One, hands in plain sight. So 10 and 2 is a good rule of thumb. 2, you have to obey all lawful orders. And 3, you cannot attempt or touch the firearm. So what happens if you have your firearm on your right hip, your wallet's in your back right pocket, the officer asks for your license? Get the officer to give you instructions. He can give you lawful orders, just make sure that your directions are clearly stated and given to you. So again, just to reiterate, number 1, promptly notify. 2, hands in plain sight. Number 3, obey all lawful orders. And number 4, do not try to touch the gun. So again, just to reiterate, we do not have a CCW license in the state of Ohio. We have a CHL, or concealed handgun license. It only applies to handguns. And again, most of us are stopped in a motor vehicle, not otherwise generally speaking, but these requirements apply outside of motor vehicle as well. So to reiterate or rehash those requirements, again, number 1, you must promptly notify when you're approached by a law enforcement officer for a law enforcement purpose that you're currently armed and are a licensee. Number 2, you have to keep your hands in plain sight. Number 3, which kind of ties into number 2, do not touch the gun or attempt to touch the gun. And then number 4, under no circumstances should you leave the vehicle, and you must obey all lawful orders. So you can leave the vehicle if the officer tells you to, but it's got to be a lawful order.